Hello and welcome to the Crictime Podcast. And for the first episode, I had to bring on a special guest. We have to build this, and I could not have thought of anyone else except Gurkharat Singh Gill, host of Gupshup with Gill, and he's also working with We Are Cricket, if I'm not wrong. A great interest in Bollywood and Punjabi music. Yeah, I think everyone's got interest in that field. But welcome to the podcast, Gurkharat. How are you doing? How's everything going with cricket and everything that you're working on right now?
Well, thank you so much for that kind introduction. Time flies quite fast. I remember last year when I had started my own podcast, and being on this podcast now reminds me that I need to start resuming the shows again because it's been some time since I did any shows. I never thought that I'd be the first guest to someone's podcast, so that's a very nice feeling. On the cricket front of things, things are going nice. I've joined cricket.com recently. VR Cricket is
Congratulations.
is their handle. So I've now started doing fantasy videos for them. It's something that I've just ventured in, and just before I came to record this, I was watching the Commonwealth Games. I do follow a little bit of hockey. So Olympics, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games are the times when you get to watch full games because otherwise you don't even get coverage of a lot of hockey games. So uh, it was nice to follow that, and everything else being great and going fine so far.
Yeah, sadly, इंडिया में यार सिर्फ क्रिकेट ही की बात होती है and slowly football's coming up. There's a lot of talk about football that's happening in India and slowly other sports अब आ रहे हैं, especially ये Commonwealth Games की वजह से Olympics में जो medals मिल रहे हैं इंडिया को. So but yeah, आज cricket is going to be the topic today, and who other to begin with than BCCI, Indian cricket team. Incredible feat in the last 20 years, I would say. Just that I say, we've come from the era of losing every match to now being the biggest team in cricket, and your thoughts on the Indian team and how things are going, and future में क्या है, especially with the World Cup coming up, Asia Cup, and then the 50 over World Cup as well, जो actually India में होगा. So your quick thoughts on that?
Well, you mentioned it correctly that I think India have become the biggest team, uh, definitely in terms of finances, because the fans have allowed the game to grow. Let's be very honest, because बिना fans के कोई game grow नहीं होगी. At some point of time, the same stature was of hockey. You could say back in the 70s, 80s. Now cricket has got that stature, and I think it will remain quite popular because of the IPL and because of the money and the interest it generates. But now, hopefully, I'd love the consistent performances to turn into a couple of big trophies because that is how teams are remembered. Amongst fans and the casual audience. As someone who might follow the game closely, I'd be able to say that we have been unlucky at few points of time, but uh, that would come across as an excuse for a team who you expect to dominate. So hopefully things will be on the upside for the Indian cricket team in terms of results at the world events because otherwise they've been doing well. In test matches they've been fantastic. They've really competed well. They had very good chances to beat South Africa in South Africa and beat England in England, but they couldn't do so. Hopefully, the sustained legacy of Virat Kohli as a Test captain is carried forward in the years to come, where India continue to compete outside of Asia in Test matches. And looking forward at the T20 World Cup, you hope or you'd expect that India will be amongst the top three or top four teams going into the tournament. But then T20 is a really short format. I keep saying this because West Indies, when they won in 2016, they only lost to Afghanistan in that World Cup, and no one would have expected that or seen that coming. So that's the kind of format T20 is. Last year, I don't think if anyone would have told a week or two before that Australia is going to win the whole T20, anyone would have believed that person. So it's a fickle format. I think definitely India will, look to prepare as well as they can, and then hope that they have a little bit of luck in terms of tosses and the performances come along. Uh, then the World Cup next year in India is a different story altogether. ODI cricket as a format is something that allows you to come back even when you've fallen behind. So I think first priority would definitely be the T20 World Cup, and then the because it's late. It's not in early March or early April like how it was last time in 2011 when the World Cup was in India, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka. This time I think it's going to be later in the year. So there's still time, and hopefully India do well.
Yeah, but I think जो सबसे बड़ा issue, and you mentioned it right at the start of this explanation, कि India, semi-final exit 2019 में, New Zealand के against one of test वो हार गए championship वो test championship का England के साथ हार गए, and वो not हारे but as in tie हो गया from a winning position, from a position where I think every fan expected us to win that fifth test come in Manchester, but do you think हम लोग key moments में थोड़ा प्रेशर होता है या क्या होता है, वो क्या हो क्या रहा है कि मतलब वी कांट कन्वर्ट, क्योंकि टूर्नामेंट का स्टार्ट तो अमेजिंग लेते हैं हम लोग, एंड देन इट्स द एंड जहाँ पे एक्चुअल रिजल्ट जो मैटर करता है, सेमीफाइनल्स फाइनल्स, वहां पे हम लोग हार रहे हैं। T20 वर्ल्ड कप लास्ट ईयर का तो वो तो एक एक्सेप्शन था, वो तो वी वर फ्रॉम बैंग ऑन पहले गेम से हम लोग नहीं सही खेल रहे थे, पाकिस्तान से जो हारे थे, एंड देन सो ऑन एंड सो फोर्थ अगेंस्ट न्यूजीलैंड। तो you know, what is the Indian cricket team kind of doing to improve that and to, I guess, help themselves in those situations?
See, if I'm going to go tournament by tournament, okay, right from the 2014 World T20, 2014 के World T20 में India were definitely the better team. It's just that on that final day, Sri Lanka played much better. They didn't really allow India to break free. The openers couldn't give you a fast start, and I remember India were around 60 for one, and then in the last 5 overs, India couldn't get going. That is one of the best display of death bowling that I have seen in the format. So you have to admit that the opposition was better that day. That wasn't a choke. When you just scored 130 runs, that isn't a choke, and that can happen in this format, right? And this format doesn't allow you to come back. 2015 World Cup, I think India overperformed because with that bowling lineup that India had of Mohammad Shami, Umesh Yadav, and Mohit Sharma to dismiss 7 teams in a row to reach the semis was a very good feat. Even though it included matches against UAE, Ireland, Zimbabwe, and then Bangladesh, but it was still a commendable feat, right? Australia in those conditions was going to be the better team, and they came out on top. Again, I don't think that was a joke. 2016 it was just a one-man show. Apart from Virat Kohli, no Indian batter scored more than 100 runs in the tournament. So again, if you don't put in performances, I don't think you deserve to win. So आप एक player के बल पे tournament नहीं जीत सकते. It was because of Virat Kohli that India could go till the semi-finals and then compete in the semi-finals as well. Their strategy at that time of playing T20s wasn't great itself because Ajinkya Rahane was told to bat and hold one end on a Wankhede pitch which where probably 210 was par. 2017 again, horrible game in terms of execution. You concede 330 runs and then you fold up for 150 odd. That isn't a choke. You lose by 180 runs. Apart from Bhuvneshwar Kumar and Hardik Pandya, all Indian bowlers had a bad day. Bumrah went for runs. Everyone remembers the no ball. But apart from that no ball as well, Bumrah went for a lot of runs that day. And Bumrah had just been an year old in international cricket. So you anyway can't rely on him to take you through. Both the spinners were taken for plenty of
I think
runs. So
Bhuvneshwar Kumar भी था शायद squad में, if I'm not wrong.
yeah, so that is what I said.
हाँ,
Bhuvneshwar Kumar was India's best bowler that
अच्छा.
day. He gave around, I think, 45 or 50 runs, bowled very well at the death, and Hardik Pandya. So जब आप 338 runs concede कर देते हो, उसके बाद आप 158 पे fold up हो जाते हो, तो you don't choke. You have to say that the opposition played better cricket. It's not that the game was done when you had to chase 338 runs because India had scored around 320, 25 odd against Sri Lanka at the Oval in the very same tournament, and they had lost. They had failed to defend it. So it's not that वहीं पे मैच खत्म हो गया था. 2019 is one tournament where I felt that the planning was a little confusing, because you said Ambati Raidu will be your number four, then you dropped him out of nowhere. You took Vijay Shankar. Vijay Shankar got injured. You moved KL Rahul from middle order to opening, and then you got in someone like Rishabh Pant, who was hardly, who I think had played 2 or 3 games before the World Cup, and then you got in someone like Mayank Agarwal uh, when I think Shikhar Dhawan was injured. So there's a lot of chopping and changing with that happened at that point of time. Then in the semi-final, you sent Dinesh Karthik ahead of MS Dhoni. A lot happened in the planning front in that tournament for India. So I think that one tournament that should hurt India a lot. And T20s again, like you said, India were never in that tournament, because they fell behind against Pakistan in the power play, tried to cover up, but the runs weren't enough. Against New Zealand, they couldn't even get to a respectable score, because they were just completely hamstrung by the New Zealand spinners in the middle overs. So yeah, India have now identified that what all has troubled them, and they're now looking to address it, because there's a reason why Rishabh Pant is being persisted in the middle order, and you've gotten players who can play spin better, so that you don't get stuck with 2 players who can't play spin, like what happened in that New Zealand game between India and with Rohit and Virat Kohli being stuck in the middle overs. Also, you are looking to try out someone like Rishabh Pant as an opener, to see how he can, keep the left arm threat at bay. We've tried Surya Kumar Yadav as an opener as well. So India are looking to, address those issues, and that's all I think any team can do. You can try to make efforts. You can put in efforts to address your concerns. After that, then it's just on the day. I don't think you can do more than that.
No, I completely agree. I think, spot on that. And I think out of those moments, वो जो न्यूजीलैंड के साथ वो जो loss था, yeah, let's say even that run out धोनी का, I think we all inside were wishing for another fairy tale story. और मैच भी वैसे ही सेटअप हो गया था, 25-10 और धोनी है. So it was like, as an Indian fan, आपने बचपन, especially me seeing Dhoni throughout my like time watching cricket, you just thought कि यार ये तो गेम धोनी के हाथ में है. This is a perfect धोनी situation. And then जब वो आउट हुआ, then you realize कि यार धोनी ने तो सबको जिता दिया वर्ल्ड कप 2011 में, बट धोनी के लिए कोई नहीं जिता पाया on his farewell World Cup. And who knew कि वो उसका आखिरी गेम होगा. Just touching on that run out, क्या feelings थी आपकी? Like how did you feel when Dhoni got out? And I'm sure उस वक्त तो बड़ा गुस्सा आ रहा होगा, frustration.
I was there in the stadium, and many of
Oh,
us knew it. So yeah,
I have a funny story as well, but sorry to cut you off, but I think I had tickets for the final and I cancelled my trip to India because I was like, yeah, agar India and India looked like they were going to be the final. It was like, yeah, India की तो पक्की है. एक team तो आने वाली है, वो India है, and then it's going to be either Australia, England, Mexico, whoever performs best on that day. So I had tickets for final and my semi-final देख रहा हूँ, I'm flying out the next day. So, and I'm watching and I'm going, यार ये क्या हुआ है? you know, I was going thinking Dhoni World Cup, फिर से जीतेगा, India's gonna win, and then all in all, जाके I still watched one of the greatest finals, no regret in that, but India को जीतने का एक अलग ही मजा होता फिर, और India को देख के अलग ही मजा आता. But sorry.
so I was at the India Sri Lanka game as well, which was India's last league game. At that point of time, it wasn't sure India will end the league stage as number one, because India had lost to England. So it was like, and they had lost a point to New Zealand because the game got rained out. So it was
Yeah,
like कि अगर India जीत गया तो they will be assured of a second spot. But if they'll end up first or not would depend upon how the South Africa Australia match goes. Because if South Africa had won, then India would have been facing England at Edgbaston, the very same ground where they lost to England in the league
yeah.
stage. So Indian fans were hoping that, India finish as the first team. I was hoping that they finish second because I had tickets for the Edgbaston semi. It's another thing that I got it exchanged with someone who
Yeah.
wanted tickets for the Edgbaston semi. But everyone was so happy. Okay, now India will play New Zealand in the fourth ranked team, and India had done very well against New Zealand in New Zealand just before the World Cup. 4-1 series जीत के आए थे,
Mm.
which is where Virat Kohli said कि Ambati Raidu has done well and he will be our number 4, but then he got
Mm.
dropped. So there was a lot of confidence among the Indian contingent, Indian fans, because I remember, going into the stadium, taking a train from London to Manchester, talking to a lot of fans, and they were thinking that this should be a comfortable win. And after the first day, because the
Mm.
game got,
Oh,
there
sure.
was a lot of rain, even New Zealand fans felt that, yeah, India might be India might cruise to a win, because they didn't think New Zealand will reach 250, and they thought it won't be enough. But who would have thought that it would end up with New Zealand winning and going to the finals?
Yeah, so I think one of the, I guess, in recent cricket, Indian cricket, one of the saddest moments, and seeing Dhoni walk out the dressing room की जो footage दिखा रहे थे और वो जो cameras pan हो रहे थे, and the way Rohit Sharma खड़ा था and everyone. So yeah, it was quite sad, but I think moving on to one of the most influential people in Indian cricket, and I think Sachin ke baad, who someone who has taken over the reins in terms of as a player, as a captain as well. Even though yes, big tournaments में नहीं achieve किया, but test matches में we one of the best captains India's had. Virat Kohli and his form and the way he's, I guess, not dropped from the team, but as in rested for the Zimbabwe and West Indies tour that that's happening. And then hopefully Asia Cup में तो आएंगे वापस, but Virat Kohli, and your quick thoughts, and is it finished? वो जो I think धोनी की मूवी में सीन है, वो जो not, I think I can't remember धोनी की मूवी में था, किसी मूवी में सीन है जिसमें वो not finished को cross करता है. So is it that for Virat Kohli, and is he gonna come back and जो पाकिस्तान के साथ innings इन्होंने खेली है, just have one of those in the World Cup,
I don't think
Asia Cup, sorry.
I would think athletes get finished at 33, 34. There is cricket left in him, but his weaknesses have become far more obvious. The chinks in the armor have been far more exposed, and to some extent, I think Virat Kohli is himself to be blamed for it, because there were signs that he was struggling against spin. You look at the 2020 IPL, you look at the 2021 IPL. 2020 IPL, I remember there was this game in Sharjah between Bangalore and Punjab where uh, Bangalore had promoted Washington Sundar and Shivam Dube ahead of AB de Villiers, and to counter them, Punjab had bowled Glenn Maxwell. Now, Sharjah is a small ground. If
Mm.
Glenn Maxwell's bowling, you expect Virat Kohli to take him on,
Yeah.
but Virat Kohli didn't. I think his strike rate in that IPL against spin bowling was around 100. In the 2021 IPL, his strike rate just after the power play from over 7 to 11 was below 100. So he had realized that he's not able to score as quickly as he would against spin. So he was trying to start quickly in the power play so that his slowdown isn't affecting that team that much. But so there were signs that he was struggling against spin anyway, and I don't think he worked enough on it in terms of adding a sweep shot or adding a reverse shot or adding a few more shots that would help him deal with that issue of spin bowling. Now everyone knows that you bowl spin to Virat Kohli, or you bring you bowl a left arm spinner or a leg spinner, he won't take you for runs. He would look to take a single. Now what that has happened, what that has done is that has resulted in in a few wickets as well. Now when you start losing your wicket, you become a little more circumspect. I think that has affected his footwork against spin in terms of coming down the track as well. But he was never a sweeper of the ball. He would either come down the track or go very deep and cut the ball. He was never a very avid sweeper or a reverse sweeper or someone who would play the lap, right? But now that he's gotten dismissed to spin bowling a lot, he's also not confident enough of using his feet and coming down the track. So that is there, and then those dismissals have also made him a little more desperate against pace bowling to score those extra runs in limited overs format again, and that has led to him trying to bat a little more aggressively, which has led to a few dismissals, and all of it has now resulted in some kind of a muddled thinking. You look at his dismissal in the first innings of the Test match against England in Edgbaston. Virat Kohli would either get dismissed caught in the slip while going for a wide drive, or he would nail that wide drive and get a four. But you would never see him go for a drive, then bring his bat back and play an inside edge onto the stumps. all of it just reflects how muddled his thinking has become. And you never associated muddled thinking with someone like Virat Kohli while he was at his prime. And now, because and it's easier said than done that you have to look past your previous dismissal, or you must not you know mix formats. But at the end of the day, all these things, they start playing on your mind, they start playing on your reflexes, and they start playing on your instincts. Batting is a very instinct oriented thing. You have to react to the ball. Now if you have to react to the ball in that split second, if you are thinking, I don't I might get out if I played this shot of, or if I play that shot, right? It is going to have an effect on your decision making. And then there's also the part of muscle memory, because you know that you've been out playing that drive, so out of a sudden then you start thinking, maybe I shouldn't play that shot. So a lot of those things have now combined together to create the kind of rut that Virat Kohli has been, which is why I was very surprised why he chose to skip the West Indies team in ODIs specifically,
Maybe
because
maybe वही सोच रहा था because I was like, yeah, this is a place where I guess in West Indies team generally they're not as strong as other, Australia, England, Pakistan, as a matter of fact. But players like Kohli, agar wo jayenge, and if someone's who's short of confidence like Kohli, for him, West Indies and Zimbabwe tour, that's the best place to go and get a century maybe or 50 odd runs and improve that weak spot. No?
so for me, it's not about which opposition he plays, rather than him being able to spend time on the crease. Now ODIs are a format where he need not be necessarily aggressive at the start. T20s require him to do that. And the Indian team philosophy is also that they're looking to attack more and be more aggressive. So in T20s you will not find time to get settled in. And if you strike bad form in T20s, then it's very difficult to get out of it. You have seen that with someone like Rishabh Pant in 2020 IPL, where you could see that he was in an absolute rut. He didn't know what to do, right? You've seen that with Rohit Sharma, and it has happened with Rohit Sharma in 4 or 5 consecutive seasons where he's looked good, but he's not been sure if he wants to attack or he wants to bat long, and that has led to his subpar returns where he's not been able to cross an average of 30. So T20 is not the format that you can play and get your form back. For that to happen, you need to play longer formats, because you will get your luxury of spending time on the crease, settling in. And I think ODIs would have been perfect for him, because that is his best format. It would have allowed him to get back to some sort of a tempo, take a little more time, and then start playing his shot. So I was very very surprised why he chose to take a break from the West Indies T20s. And it becomes even more surprising if you consider that post the last World T20, he didn't play the T20s against New Zealand. He didn't play the first Test match. Then he played the second Test match and played the South African tour. He didn't play the T20s against Sri Lanka and the third T20I against West Indies. He played the Test matches against Sri Lanka, and then he didn't play the T20s against South Africa at home. There was a month break. He played only that one Test match and the matches in England. So he
Mm.
should have played the West Indies ODIs as far as I'm concerned. Uh, I didn't see him or KL Rahul anyway playing the Zimbabwe T20s, because, yeah, I don't know. I just think that players now think that they shouldn't be going to Zimbabwe and playing these matches. Then it's something that they can look to do, especially when they are in such desperate times. But I don't know. I never
No,
felt that
even
these players will go there.
agreed. I think with Zimbabwe as well. I think yes, I do still want him to go, but I think if he chooses not to go, then it's fine. It's not a big deal, kind of thing. But I think Virat Kohli said, I guess publicly issue ये है कि because he's been so consistent in all three formats, I guess 2009 से लेकर, if we speak until 2019, he's got an average of above at least 38, 39, and he mostly averages above 50 runs in every single year across all formats. So for him to go through this slump, I guess every player goes through it. But issue ये आ रहा है कि Virat Kohli is having it at a stage of a career where replacements hai, I guess Ayer, Sky as well, if he comes in at 3. But Is it because of captaincy? Because we saw him step aside of white ball cricket specifically, I think, first. And then suddenly, 2, 3 months later, Virat Kohli, जिन्होंने अभी कहा है कि, oh, I'm gonna just drop white ball captaincy to focus on red ball. 3 months from there, he says, right, I think I'm done with captaincy in all three formats. Someone take over. Is it something like BCCI se hua hai, or is it Virat Kohli himself doing it? And is that one of the reasons where he's gone, yeah, captaincy is something I enjoy, and the passion that he shows on the field as a captain is unheard of across any team around the world right now.
See, there's one thing's very certain over what this whole captaincy fiasco is, that BCCI didn't manage it well. Let's be absolutely and 100% clear about it, because I've said it before that the amount of leaks and rumors that are generated through BCCI officials or sources is something which is extraordinary, and it's not funny. I mean, if any and every discussion with regards to selection is being leaked through some source or the other, before every selection happening, then there is no concept of secrecy. What you are basically doing is you are making you are making a whole rumor mill industry, right? And eh, as the office holders of the BCA, you should be doing something about it. But there was nothing of that sort which was happening. I was very surprised with how there was criticism of Virat Kohli after India had won the Oval Test last year, right? And there were so many rumors happening. If the board, wanted to exercise their power or wanted to, throw their weight behind Virat Kohli, someone from the higher offices of BCCI could have come forward and said that, yeah, this is we'd like these rumors to stop, and we fully, are behind the Indian team and we back Virat Kohli. But something of that sort didn't happen.
So
Then
can we
Virat
can we
Kohli,
say are we right in saying maybe इसमें BCCI का कोई हाथ है? Maybe it's not fully Kohli's decision.
I'm getting to that. I'm getting to that.
Sorry.
Then when then when Virat chose to step down from T20I captaincy, he said that he's looking forward to lead the team in Test matches and in the ODI World Cup. And then he was removed from the ODI World Cup post the from the ODI captaincy post the World T20. Now, if you're removing someone like Virat Kohli from the ODI captaincy, the least that you could do is you could come forward and do a press conference with both Virat and the next captain, who's Rohit Sharma in that case. What you did was just, there was one line in the whole email that was sent to the press for with the squad selection for New Zealand, saying that for South Africa, saying that Virat Kohli will not be the captain of the ODI team. Now, I think that's not on. I think that's quite disrespectful, uh, and that is where the board messed up. So the board definitely didn't treat Virat Kohli the way it should have, and it's ironical because the board president was Saurav Ganguly, who, when he was removed as the captain, felt that he wasn't treated fairly. When, if you look at the numbers and if you look at the records, Saurav Ganguly's dropping was 100% justified at that point of time.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, the board definitely didn't handle that well. Now, as a player, it is definitely going to affect you. It is definitely going to affect your decision making. And then there were a pile of lies where Ganguly said that Virat Kohli offered to resign, and he said he was okay. And then Virat Kohli said in a press conference that I didn't say any of that. I wasn't asked. I was just told, and I was okay with it. So it was clear case of airing your dirty laundry. So it is difficult to say that the board didn't play a part in it, right? It's very difficult to say that the board didn't play a part in it. Maybe all of that with what happened with regards to the ODI captaincy did play a part in Virat Kohli being the test captaincy, but all of it is conjecture. We will have to draw our own conclusions on the basis of what we have seen, and then make a comment. But even if we don't make those conclusions, and if we just go by the pure facts of whatever happened, there are no two ways to say that the board didn't treat Virat Kohli well, and they should have. That's something that Virat Kohli deserved for what he's done for Indian cricket and for how he's led the team. And if he didn't feel like, if he felt bad about it, he has every right to feel bad about it, because anyone would have felt bad about it. So that's there. Now I don't know how much that played a part in him giving a test captaincy, and how much of that is playing a part in his current current form, because a lot of his issues are technical as well. So
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I think, yeah, you're right on that. And in terms of like the rumors जो आए थे about BCCI maybe having an hand, I kept ignoring them honestly because I was like, I think maybe Virat Kohli, out of sudden decides कि यार नहीं, it's not working out. It's better if I just focus on cricket right now, and it's the perfect time for me to hand on the baton to someone else and ask them to lead while I'm still in the team so I can help out. But then जब वो England वाला situation हुआ ना, when Rohit Sharma got COVID, and there was talk about yeah, who's going to be the captain, who's going to be the captain. And then I saw Jasprit Bumrah being selected as the captain. I was like, yeah, that's a bit unfair. You've got someone like Kohli. I know, yes, he's not in form, but he has to play that match. And someone like Kohli, जिसने England में 2-1 already as a captain series करवा चुका है, and to not give him the opportunity to win it all and take it away, even though कहीं ना कहीं लग रहा था टेस्ट मैच में कि विराट कोहली was leading the team and making sure everything was in order and supporting Bumrah, but it just felt like maybe there is some airing, they're all airing their dirty laundry at you, as you said, especially in that fifth test match in England. But I guess, Gurkirat, moving on to the tournaments coming up, we spoke a bit about that right at the start. Asia Cup, T20 World Cup, the recent ones, and then a few. I think we've got Australia right before it in India, and England are going
Australia
to
and South
Pakistan. Yeah, India and England, sorry, Australia and South Africa, don't know. So perfect opportunity for Virat Kohli to get selected in that and perform well before heading into that Asia Cup and T20 World Cup.
uh, See, I don't know how much of playing the Asia Cup is an ideal preparation for the Indian team as well, because barring the odd game here or two, you'd still say that India is the better team amongst Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Afghanistan in T20s, and they're going to play in conditions which are nowhere similar to the conditions in Australia, right? So I really don't know how it will help in terms of preparation. The good thing is that we might see what would be India's first 11 at the World T20, uh, from the 11 that you see at the Asia Cup. Virat Kohli definitely needs to score runs. Hopefully, he does in the Asia Cup, and then he carry forwards that form to the South Africa and the Australia T20Is at home, and then to the World Cup. One thing's quite certain, uh, that the game that Virat Kohli has against pace is something that the likes of Hardik, Pant, Shreyas, Hooda, and Sky don't have. It was evident in the second game as
Yeah,
well.
I agree.
So if the World Cup had not been, in Australia, then Virat Kohli would have been pretty much out of the T20 team for sure. It's because it's in Australia, he has that advantage of, his very good game against pace, as well as his experience and his good record in Australia, which is working in his favor. So I still think that he'll be there, but he needs runs under his belt, because otherwise India would be very otherwise India would be in some kind of a spot of bother with related to his form, because you can't drop him, and you'd want someone like Virat Kohli, who bats at number 3, to score those runs which he's done all this time for the team, so that you don't collapse in a big game. So that way India would really want Virat Kohli to get back in form, because Rohit Sharma has shown signs that he's now starting to adapt to that high risk and high intent game. He got one big score in the first T20, then he got out for a duck, and then he went back injured in the third T20. But in the fourth T20 as well, he might have been dismissed for 33, but he scored that in 16 balls. So he's certainly worked on his intent, and he's making sure that India are making the power play count, right? That stage will come later for Virat Kohli, but first and foremost, he needs some runs. He needs some runs, and he needs them desperately.
No, I completely agree. I think it is do or die situation basically. Kohli ke liye. There's not much he can do other than just work on his technical aspects and just improve the way. I guess he's been struggling for the last few years, I should say, or even the last few months specifically. I guess last 2 years with COVID and everything, thoda bahut idhar udhar tha, and he missed out on a key series in Australia as well. Sometimes people forget he could have had eight, 6 more innings if he stayed. So test match, he could have had at least a century in there. And with the record that you're saying in Australia, he's got an average of 64 in T20s and test में तो और ज़्यादा है. So I think Virat Kohli as a player, he's not finished. He's got a lot to prove, and he will. So for him, it's just about getting back into this team. And now that he's had this big break, he can come in with a clear mindset and just go from there. Just before we end this, I know it's long and it's quite late in India as well. So, Gurkirat, your top 3 players in the world right now, players to watch out for, I guess, in the Asia Cup or even in the T20 World Cup, अगर England, Australia में से कोई है.
See, I don't think there is any player who's probably an all format player at the moment and doing well. You could say Bumrah's one, who's doing very well across formats. Rishabh Pant is doing well in Test matches and ODIs, but T20 internationals are a bit of a struggle for him. So top 3 players, one is definitely Jasprit Bumrah. Uh, you're asking my top 3 players, or like the players that I like,
Yes,
or the
yes.
players who I feel are at the top of their game at
I
this
think
point
I
of
think
time.
your personal 3, I guess, to start off.
So the players that I like at this point of time, I've always been a Virat Kohli admirer. So Virat Kohli will always be uh, in that bracket for me. So would be Jasprit Bumrah. Rishabh Pant is someone who I like a lot, but I think at this point of time in ODIs, Babar Azam is doing extremely well. He's really setting the scene on fire, and it's like Babar Azam is ODIs and ODIs are Babar Azam. He's in that kind of a form, so he's doing brilliantly on that front. Uh, I've I'm also I'm also liking someone like I think Steve Smith will also start scoring runs again in test matches. Joe Root's definitely in terrific form. I think that England should look to draft him in the T20 scheme of things as well. I felt that he would have been a better pick than David Milan for the last T20, specifically because of his game against spin and how he could bowl those extra overs. And I genuinely think that now England need a quality batter in their T20 outfit. They have a lot of options, but they have depth on paper, but they don't have quality on paper. So yeah, Joe Root is someone definitely who I really enjoy watching a lot. So Joe Root, Babar Azam, Jasprit Bumrah, Virat Kohli, Rishabh Pant. These are the guys that I've really been enjoying in recent times.
Yeah, I
David
think
Millar is doing fantastically. He's had a brilliant years and he's continuing that in T20s as well. So yeah, quite a few players who are doing quite well.
I agree. I think maybe it'll be similar players to that because I think T20 format में कोई भी कर सकता है. I know I'm saying it very lightly कि यार कोई भी कर सकता है, but फिर भी it's a lot easier than test match and
I
ODIs.
wouldn't agree to that. Uh, they require completely different skills.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
not saying it's very easy, but I'm saying it's compared to test match or जो determination चाहिए होती है बाकी formats में to stay longer at the crease compared to be more effective.
you need more patience, but that patience doesn't guarantee you success in T20s, and success in T20s is now becoming tougher because of greater analysis, greater data available. There's a lot of matchups which are involved. The scrutiny on players in terms of their strengths and weaknesses is far more, and you don't have the luxury of playing out bowlers, right? In test matches you can play out bowlers who trouble you, but in T20s, you don't have that luxury. You need to have those laps, those reverse sweeps, and everything, which make which make you useful as a T20 batter. Someone like Surya Kumar Yadav is succeeding in the format because he's constantly adding shots to his armory. The kind of pickup shots he's playing. See, a lot of players play the pickup shot, but their pickup shot is usually in one direction. Like they'll play a pickup shot towards the square leg. But Surya Kumar Yadav plays the pickup shot towards towards an area between long off and mid wicket. He plays a pickup shot towards fine leg. He plays a pickup shot towards cow corner. Now that is range, right? So it's see, playing out surviving a DL strain outswinger in test matches is difficult, but so is lapping him for a six to fine leg. So I wouldn't ever say that nailing one format is more difficult or easier than the other, because now the game's catching up, it's evolving, and the more you play, the more you are scrutinized. So it's difficult to it's difficult to keep succeeding in any format without upgrading yourself. Karen Pollard is no longer the same threat that he was, because he's never really worked upon on his issue of wide line yorkers. You saw how in this IPL everyone just kept bowling him wide outside off stump, because he really doesn't have a lot of short square of the wicket. He only plays in front of the wicket. Now that is where someone like De Villiers, someone like David Warner have continued to evolve, right? So T20 is also not easy anymore. It's difficult.
I think maybe my word choice was wrong in saying T20 is easier, but I think in general, so I think you're right. You're right, and
But that's the
again,
perception.
huh,
That's the perception what has become, because everyone thinks you just have to go and slog. But if slogging was so easy, then every Test cricketer would have succeeded in T20s, but they haven't.
yeah,
There's a
you're
reason.
completely right.
There's a reason why so many Test cricketers haven't been able to succeed at T20s, because slogging is also not easy.
Hmm. You're right in saying that. Gurkha, thank you, yeah, for joining the podcast, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on the podcast. Really appreciate having you here. And guys, if you're watching this for the first time, subscribe to Gurkha, and I'll leave all of his links in the description below. Follow all of his social media pages. Follow us, weekly podcasts with guests. Hopefully, we've got someone lined up for the next episode as well. Gurkha, I'll be looking forward to having you on again. If you're free, hit me up. I'll try and arrange a date with you and see if we can figure out something closer to the World Cup, or maybe after the Asia Cup when India win, hopefully, and then we can have a celebration talk instead of a bit of a thoda sa, leaning towards a bit of a struggling session for India, I guess. In the past few months, especially with Virat Kohli. So thank you for everyone watching. Subscribe, follow our social media pages. Links will be in the description below. And until then, stay safe, and we'll see you next time.